What's going on, family? It's your main man, 100 Grand, Kim Blanks Harrell, and we are having a live webinar coming up on Saturday, May 14th, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the topic this month is dividend stocks. Yeah, that's right. We're talking all about dividend stocks. Those stocks that not only give you your cake, but some of that icing too. So make sure you tap in to dividend stocks presented by Stock Market 101, part of the Bullish Institute's Financial Literacy Workshop Series.
And boom, we back again with Mr. Darniel Barnett kicking back with us again on the Entrepreneur Kickback. Hey, thank you for joining us again, good brother. How are you?
No problem, man. I'm great, and thanks for having me.
Hey, man, thanks for reaching out. You know, I don't believe things happen by coincidence. You know, you told me some things you've been working on, and I was like, I want to hear about it because, you know what I'm saying? You're definitely a bright dude, and you have a understanding of how to build wealth. And I want you to share that with the audience. We was talking a little bit on the back end. For those who may not know, Mr. Barnett was on episode 3 of the Entrepreneur Kickback for his Dream Cars for Penny system. And that's just what it is. It's a system. And he has more than just that system. So we're kind of touching in on one of these other systems that he's doing now, which all ties into wealth building. Again, Mr. Barnett, for those who may be hearing you for the first time, can you give a brief description of yourself?
Yeah, what's up? What's up, everybody? It's Darniel Barnett, also known as the Dream Cars Guy. I specialize in teaching individuals little-known financial strategies that aid them in building income and growing wealth.
And that's everything in a nutshell. So that's cars, credit, real estate, just to name a few. Am I correct?
You are definitely correct, man. I really pride myself in trying to break the status quo, if you will. Unfortunately, there's a lagging array of information when it comes from the previous times to now. Even post-pandemic, the world is totally different than what it used to be. It's too much misinformation, and it's not misinformation simply because it's wrong. It's predominantly because it's outdated. We live in a new economy. We live in a new world, and a lot of those old concepts are still being applied to worlds today that does not work.
That's interesting you say that because, you know, we all Kiyosaki fans here, I will assume. And these are the things he was saying in his book. Chimes has changed and we're using old methods. And it's like now after this pandemic is like it's changing again. And it's changing again and again and again and again. So it's like it's making it harder for people to adjust. So I think it's imperative that, you know, we come together and speak as a community and share our knowledge and skills, etc. With that here, you have a book coming out.
Yes.
You have a book coming out and it's based around credit.
Yeah, specifically credit cards and leveraging them to obtain high limits and take those high limits and branch off through many different things, right? So a big thing today is people utilize credit vastly wrong, right? Even the approach to getting credit. A lot of people go into a bank or go online and they just apply for stuff. They close their eyes, hit submit, and hope they get it, right? It doesn't have to be this way. So in the new world, right, the new world we've talking about, banks have changed the way they bank. There used to be a time where there was, if you apply for a loan, you have a processor and then your application would be passed on to an underwriter, right? And that underwriter has specific requirements that they have to qualify you for to get approved or denied. Well, 95% of banks no longer do that. We have something called an algorithmic underwriting. And basically what that is, it's a computer that goes in and they look at specific data points, income, residency, credit history, etc. And they look for certain data points to basically give you an approval or denial. And if you get an approval, what terms, what interest rate, and what credit limit. And we're able to take all of these data points from different banks and create a certain system, a certain identity for that bank, if you will, that allows us to get higher rates of approvals and much, much higher credit limits.
Let's see. Sort of like, let's say someone's applying for a job in two different industries. You know, you may have your resume for your clerical, and you may have your resume for your janitorial. Is that a good comparison?
Well, definitely. I mean, you're going to structure in your example, you're going to structure your resume a lot differently for a clerical job than you are a janitorial job, right? And it's very, very similar to how we approach credit, right? Because different banks have different identities, and we'll talk about that a little later.
Okay. See, that's interesting, because one thing I'm starting to realize about the credit game is that no one really knows, and there are no, to my knowledge, there are no certified professionals as in credit. Like you can't go to Howard University and major in credit.
If you think about it, right, it's really made that way systematically, right? So now, but most banks use what's called the FICO score, right? And it's the Fair Isaac something score, right? And I believe 9 out of 10 banks look at that when they go to qualify you for a loan. Well, they literally generated a certain system to categorize each individual economically based on their risk, right? Now, if you guys take a look back at our older episode, I gave you a little bit of information on how our economy was literally built and driven off of debt and loans. Well, we take advantage of this. A huge reason why individuals have trouble with scaling their income is because they're trying to start from nothing and turn nothing into something. This is the wrong way to go. You need to learn how to leverage the bank and take the bank's money smartly and grow it into your own revenue. And what we do is we teach individuals how to structure their credit profile and go into each individual banks and get the max amount of credit limits. And then we monetize those limits in different ways.
Okay. You say structure your credit profile. That's interesting, because is that credit repair, or is that, what is that like exactly?
Well, I really want to say it's credit. It's more like credit manipulation, if you will. So if you had a blank slate, right? Let's say you had nothing on your credit. You could easily obtain $100,000 to $150,000 in personal credit within 2 years. Now, things get a lot trickier if you have negative things on there, because most of the algorithms are going to automatically kick you off or give you a lower credit limit if you have negative things on your credit. So things like bankruptcies, missed payments, high utilization, collections, any derogatory mark is going to be negatively impacting your chances to get that credit limit.
It sounds similar to, because you say this is all automated. So
yeah.
So for example, you apply for your credit card, you send it in. There's this software or bot or whatever that looks you up and down, looks at your credit profile, and without even asking you any other questions, they make a decision just like that.
Definitely. Yes.
That kind of sounds like Amazon when you're applying as a vendor. You know,
yeah.
You send it in, they don't even look at nothing. The computer looks at it and they deny you, and then you got to figure it out yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Algorithms run today's world. I tell people that in today's world, people don't make decisions, computers do, right? And if you learn what data the computers look for, you can do an extreme amount of damage. I have so many individuals that literally go in and just apply. They get all these inquiries and all of that on their credit, and then they come to me and say, hey, well, I want to do the stack, right? And what's the stack? So the stack is a way that we literally can get anywhere between 3 to 9 credit cards off of like 4 or 5 inquiries. And I'm talking about we're getting $80,000 to $100,000 in credit limits all at once, right? And this stuff is not talked about. It's not talked about because not a lot of people know about it. But after my book drops, trust me, you're going to have a lot of firepower.
Well, let's talk a little bit about it now. You said credit stacking.
Yeah.
When you say that, it sounds like this is a better way to save up resources because you can spend credit as opposed to just trying to work and build up your funds. You can use the credit to leverage to get the funds. Okay. Can you tap in a little more detail?
Yeah. So the thing is, as I alluded to before, many individuals go that exact route that you were speaking about. They make a little money, they save a little money. And unfortunately, most people don't have a high enough income to actually make that do anything, right? So if you know that you're responsible and you know you have a surefire way to actually generate some revenue and get a return on your capital, you literally can take these cards because most of your cards, once you actually structure your profile properly, you're going to get anywhere between 6 to 18 month 0% APR, right? So these cards are coming back to you with these $10, $15, $20,000 limits plus with no interest on them for the next 18 months. So if I make a charge on them today, I literally won't have to pay interest into 2023. Think about the power and the flexibility that an individual that knows how to generate capital that really don't have the resources to go get an investment or to have a loan directly to them, how they can leverage credit cards to do that.
As far as practicality, I like to start from the mud.
That's fine.
What if someone, 40 years old, maybe, they didn't have an understanding of what credit is, so they got some damages on their credit. So, could they implement these strategies, and is it really attainable?
Yeah. So the beauty about credit is that it's never a one all be all, right? So just because you have bad credit right now doesn't necessarily mean you will have bad credit forever, or it doesn't mean that you have to keep bad credit. Right. So there's many different things that we teach, and we actually give our DIY credit repair guide away for free. You can go on my Instagram at the Dream Cars Guy, and you can get it directly from me. But there's a lot of different things that people don't know about. Right. So you have the big 3, which is Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Right. And those are the company that you go to see your 3 credit scores. But no one ever thought about where do they get their information from. There's other companies like Innovis, ARS, LexisNexis, SageStream, and other companies like that actually house all of the information that they utilize to actually give you your score. So you can go to those companies and actually opt out. If you have damaged credit, you can opt out, right? And then go dispute the things that are on your credit report. So those big 3 companies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, actually have 30 days to verify the information. Well, if you opt out and tell those smaller companies to not share your information with anyone else, when they go to try to cross-reference the information that you're disputing, it makes it a lot harder, which takes a lot more time, which increases your chance of getting that stuff removed.
Tell them don't release it to the big boys, and that increases your chances of getting. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this stuff is not talked about enough. And then also, when you have damaged credit, you you kind of just don't want to harp on it, right? So a lot of people that have damaged credit, they do stuff like they don't look at it. They just let the things accumulate. Well, even if you have damaged credit, you still can add positive things on there while you're rectifying those negative things. So you're adding stuff on there, right, while you're getting those other things taken off. So once those things actually get taken off, the time that you spent adding positive things on there offset. So now your credit profile will be pretty strong, and then you can go and implement the strategies that we're talking about today.
Okay. What's some positive things you can do?
Well, so if you're really messed up and you're like, I can't really get any cards. Now, first thing first, a secured card is okay, but we really don't advise it, right? Now, a lot of people gives me flack and say, oh, well, I had bad credit and I used a secure card and it did this, it did that. That's fine. Secure cards do work, but you have to understand that every action, there's a recourse. So remember when we said that the algorithms look for certain things. Now, the larger your credit lines that you have already reporting, the higher your approvals will be in the future. So if you have a secured card reporting 200, 300, and for the people that don't know, a secured credit card is basically the banks will give you a credit card, but they'll take a deposit for the exact same amount that they're giving you in credit limit. So if your credit limit is $500, you have to give a $500 deposit. And what this does is it guarantees that you have a very, very low reporting on your credit available balance. So when the next bank go in and say, okay, well, you're applying for a $10,000 Visa card, you're going to either get denied or it's going to be very, very low. And we don't want this. So things you can utilize services like Tomo. Tomo is a credit card that does no credit check, right? They look at your financial history. You have to have a bank account for at least 6 months, no overdrafts, some type of direct deposit. I think it's a minimum of $1,500 direct deposit a month. You can do that. You can go pre-qualify for starter cards like your Quicksilver One Journey, Capital One Journey card, your Quicksilver One cards. You can go to Discover Student. There's some lower end cards out there that have limited to poor credit requirements that you can get in, make your payments on time, utilize your card, but never let it report a balance. Don't carry a balance. And after some time, you will be able to move up to these tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cards where they offer the incentives and things of that nature.
You just got to know how these particular companies or banks operate.
Definitely. And one of the things that we're putting in our book is literally just that. We'll have like an identity chart. We're going to go through and tell you what banks are the most inquiry sensitive. So which banks to apply for first when you have a low amount of inquiries, which banks is okay to apply for when you have a lot of inquiries, which banks give the highest limits, which banks pull from which bureau, so on and so forth. And it'll give you the ultimate tool belt to know when, how, and what to do with the credit, how to get it, and how to manipulate everything in between.
Dang, that's dope. So pretty much no matter what position you're in, there is a path for you.
Definitely.
That's
always something you can do.
See, now that's interesting. It's just that you need to know what to do. How do you utilize this yourself as far as your personal and your business?
Yeah. So personally, I have about 100. I can't even remember the exact number. I just got a credit limit increase a couple of weeks ago, but I have 100,000 plus in credit limits. A lot of the things that I utilize. So like right now, I literally liquidated one of my cards to pay for the rehab on the single family home that I was speaking to you about earlier, the rental property in Detroit that I bought. I utilize it to pay for ads. I do different things. And I also utilize the sign-up bonuses and the reward points to things like free trips and buy designer, different things like that. It's a wide variety of things that I utilize. And I also utilize them for income directly. One of the things that I do is I sell authorized user lines. Now, it's very, very important to know which cards to do this and which cards not to do this with. But most people want to have good credit, right? And if you're in a position to where you have decent credit or you're lacking accounts, you can add the right authorized user and it'll either give you a higher qualification or it'll give you a better rate for certain loans and certain credit cards in comparison to if you didn't have that authorized user line on reporting on your credit.
That's dope. And FYI, y'all, this isn't financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. And
yeah, man.
Yeah, he's speaking on his personal experience of what he does.
You got to learn how to play the game first. Definitely have to learn how to play the game. And you can't play the game until you know your rules, but also you got to get your feet wet. You can't become a millionaire. You can't start making these moves. You won't reach 100,000 in credit by sitting on the sidelines and saying, okay, well, I don't know anything about credit. My mom didn't teach me anything about credit, or I have bad credit. Forget about it. Stop thinking like that.
It's sort of like, what are you going to do about it? And there are things you can do. Well, first realize that there are things you can do about it, and you just have to seek out that particular information. I also like to add, if someone's listening, you can't be afraid of the information either. I know it's abundant.
That is true.
I know it's abundant now, but it's abundant for a reason, because obviously it's still a massive problem. It's just you have to find who resonates with you, and can you have a connection with who's educating you. Yeah. So
another thing that's important too is just make sure that the people that are teaching you are actually doing what they're teaching. I mean, this is not no knock to anyone that's out there that's teaching, but I've seen too many individuals that are teaching things that they're learning themselves or they're not doing at all. That's really important. I sell courses and I teach individuals online. So for the individuals that truly do it and truly implement the things that they're teaching, that's great. But it's very important to vet the information and to know enough about what you don't know to know if the information you're getting is wholesome and solid and applicable to what you want to do.
I like your choice of words there. You don't know enough. You know that, okay, this sounds way too good to be true. Let me look down. Let me look down and see who's this person. Because like guys like yourself, usually they put up receipts and they have results and they have real life examples such as yourself. You were saying how draining and exhausted, or how blessed you are. And this is just me. When I hear stuff like that, that's genuine. That's true. I mean, you do have nice cars. However, you're not leading with that. You're leading with the information. You're leading with the work ethic. You're leading with the processes. You're leading with the problems and that solution for that problem. And I think that's also important to pay attention to as well, because credit's a monster. I'm still trying to figure out credit. That's why I'm so happy you came on, because I said, well, it's so much to credit, and it's so many ways to skin it. And it's just, how do you skin it?
That's also what makes credit hard. Another thing that I see too, you have individuals that kind of fix their own credit and then they try to help other individuals, but unfortunately, like there's no one-on-one to credit. I mean, every credit is one-to-one. So basically, my credit, no matter what's on there, it's never going to be like anyone else's. So my path and someone else's path is going to be completely different. And if I don't know enough about it, it's going to be very, very hard for me to advise or properly advise anyways, someone how to go about it. So one thing that I like to say, just a general rule of thumb, if you want to structure your profile correctly, look at it like this. You need anywhere between 7 to 10 positively reporting open accounts, not closed, open accounts. You want 9% or less utilization on each card. A total of those cards to be 9% or less, not the 30 that once people thought that was the right way to go. You want 9% or lower to fully optimize your FICO score. You want zero derogatory marks, none, no collections, no bankruptcies. Also, you want zero missed payments. You want 100% payment history. Get those missed payments off, get those collections off, get those things off, and you'll be able to start getting and utilizing these strategies. And also, last but not least, have only 2 to 3 inquiries, right? I'm not huge on the amount of inquiries that you have, but having 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 inquiries, just applying for things in a blind and hoping you get them is not the way to go. Come see me, grab the book, and you'll be able to learn a lot more about the techniques and the procedures on how to know before you even pull the trigger if you're going to get a yes or no. I have clients all the time that they say, hey, Daniel, I want this credit card. I'll say, okay, let me take a look at your credit profile. Cool, you'll get that card. And I'll literally tell them what their credit limit is going to be within a couple $100. I'll say, yep, you can get this card and your credit limit is going to be this. And there's been so many times where I hit it on the head and we'll be on a call or we'll be on a shared screen and I'll see their face just light up, be like, bro, you just said this exact number. And I say, yeah, no, it's simply because it's data. It's no guesswork to it, right? I'm not a genius. I've just seen enough application and I processed enough data points to know if Capital One is going to say yes, to know if American Express is going to say yes. And if you guys put yourself in the same situation and get that information and that knowledge, you can do the same thing. And if you guys sit to the end of this episode, I'm going to give you one huge resource that's going to change the way you apply for credit cards, and it'll be in the book as well. But I'll give it to your listeners just for being here.
That's the point of kicking back with entrepreneurs. You know, we sit down, we have high level conversations with things that you can use in your life. But I want to tap into those derogatory remarks because you were saying you want to have zero if you can. And you said one of those ways of getting those things removed is I guess what you say, freeze those freeze or opt out the smaller credit bureaus. Okay. You opt out of those. And then once you do that, is that when you start doing the dispute process? Yeah. So credit repair itself is a whole different animal. And if you want me to get back on and go on that directly, we can. But so for instance, for the first phase, you kind of want to do a debt verification. And basically a debt verification is just a letter, and you can Google it, where you're asking the creditor or the debtor to basically verify that debt is actually yours, right? And it's a couple ways you can go about that. And they have 30 to 45 days to respond to you, as I alluded to earlier. And then if they get that information back to you, then you go on to the debt validation, which basically is requesting from them the actual physical thing that they have to prove not only if the debt is yours, but that you're actually responsible for that exact debt. So there's debt verification, then debt validation. Yes. Okay. See, that's those are terms I never heard of. Okay, so that will be the process to help getting the proper, credit profile. Yeah. So before you can utilize these strategies, you gotta have your credit profile looking like I just said in an example of that. Once you get to a certain point, you kind of just cruise. Now you have banks like Citi and Chase that just because you have a strong profile doesn't necessarily mean you'll get it. There's also different rules that banks have that can cause you to get denied. So just because you have a 750 credit score with Chase, they have a 524 rule. So basically what that means is if you have 5 cards within the last 24 months, you can't get a Chase card, no matter how good your credit is, no matter how strong your profile is, they're going to tell you no. And if you're not aware of these things, Chase is not going to come out and tell you and say, well, you can't have 5 credit cards in the last 24 months. They're going to say, hey, well, you have too many recent accounts. So to the average mind, to the average person, too many recent accounts might mean a month, might mean 6 months. They don't know when to go back to apply. So if you know these banks and if you're knowledgeable of all of these things that they have within their data points and their algorithms, you'll know exactly when and how to go about getting these cards. You got my wheels turning. Damn. Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I'm here for. But you got to think how banks works, man. Banks is strictly numbers. There's no emotion
in banking whatsoever. It's down to the exact penny because banks only make money by charging interest and fees. So there's no way to kind of cross decipher those numbers. And once you actually understand how to get in there, then the world opens up totally, man. Like I have no problem with getting any type of money from the bank whatsoever.
And if you really think about the power of that, that could save so many people. You know, I've been talking to guys for a while now, and I'm realizing, you know, everyone's goals is different. You know, I've been saying I don't want to preach the $1 million dream. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting $1 million. However, if most people can generate $100,000 a year, most people and or families can live a comfortable life. And a lot of those families would be actually content if they can keep that going. And the way that you're describing this is that you can use credit to just sustain your life. You know, whether that's investments, that's business, vacation. And it simply sounds to me that just getting the understanding of how the banks and credit systems work and operate and how they use their data points, you could build a life for yourself. And you haven't really officially said like any, well, you do real estate and you do things with your credit. You utilize your credit. However, if you get these tools the way you need them, it leaves you a lot of room for opportunity.
Definitely. In order to do anything, you need the knowledge, you need the capital, you need the opportunity. And with a lot of things, the opportunity is sitting on a lot of individuals' doorstep, but they don't have the knowledge or the capital. Now, you don't need all three, but you have to be able to put yourself in a position when those opportunities come about that you can exercise them. And most people, they don't know how to get the money, they don't know how to raise the money, or they don't know how to make the money. So without having the ability to get that capital, they're really stuck in a box. And unfortunately, that's why our demographic utilizes and turns to things that we shouldn't, simply because we don't have that information to go do it, because the money is out there. There's no shortage of money. Even in a recession, people want to think that money is low, but believe it or not, more money is actually passed in a recession than it is in a boom. But this is something to think about.
That is something to think about. And I'm sure someone's listening is thinking about that now. They're saying, well, inflation rate is going up, and you know, we're falling into the recession, and I may have some blemishes on my credit. So it's like, maybe this doesn't apply to me. You know, what would you say? Well, what would you say to someone like that?
Well, I'd say, one, stop making excuses. And that's me being completely blatant, because during the pandemic, Ferrari sales went up. So what does that tell you? There's someone making money. It's just not the ones that's telling themselves that. So like, the only people who are really worried about inflation is the really, really small guys and the really big hedge funds. So if you're somewhere in the middle and you're saying inflation this, inflation that, the thing that I say is learn how to make more capital, learn how to make more income. If you're making more income, yeah, you're going to be somewhat concerned about inflation, but it's not going to change your day-to-day life. It might change how you invest. It might change how aggressive or unaggressive you pursue business ventures and investments and opportunities like that. But if you make enough money day-to-day, you're not going to be saying, well, I paid $4 for gas this week and I paid $4.01 next week. What are we going to do? You make enough money to where you're not living paycheck to paycheck. You're not looking at your bank account every single day, every single week, every single month. You have other things going on to where those things are not really a daily concern of yours.
I have an example, like when you see the memes and they complain about gas now, and it's like, people don't remember 2008. Gas prices were around the same price. So it's like, most people have been through this before that are living. And it definitely won't be the last time. And to give perspective to anyone who's listening, you may be in a situation right now. However, you go across the planet, there's also a situation there too. So no matter where you are, there's going to be a situation, whether it's inflation, whether a pandemic, that's something we couldn't calculate at all. So, and yet I spoke to someone a few episodes that made $500,000 during the pandemic while everything was shut down.
Yeah, man, I made the most money I've ever made in 2020. Heart of the pandemic, I made the most money I've ever made.
When there's chaos, there's opportunity, and you just study, learn, adapt, apply. You got
heavy on the apply. Heavy on the apply.
Very heavy on the apply. I've been getting to a point where I like to apply so I can get my feet wet, so then I can learn and then adjust and then apply again.
Yeah, too many people have this notion that they have to learn and learn and learn, and they're so stuck on learning that they don't realize that learning truly is doing. So this is not possible for you to inject some information and receive some information and think you know how to do something. You have to go do it. And if you're just reading books, if you're just listening to podcasts like this, if you're just watching videos and you're not going and doing anything, one, you're not truly learning, but two, you're going to be in the same position, right? Because theoretical information and practical information is two totally different things. I can show you how to mow a lawn, right? You prime it, you pull the lever, and the engine start going, and you push it. But guess what? Last night it rained, so the blade is going to get stuck, or it's going to be blotchy. So you have to learn how to raise up the level of the blade and things like that. So if you don't understand that doing is better than knowing, you're doing things the wrong way, because knowing is doing, but you can't know until you actually do, right? So go apply, get a little information before you have it all figured out. Go out there, jump off the porch, and you'll learn as you go. That's very important. And accept that you won't learn until you actually go make some mistakes. You're not going to be perfect.
You have some jewels you're willing to share. That's directly from your book.
Yeah. So one of the resources there's a few secret societies or communities, if you will, that not many individuals know about. There's a website that actually keeps track of the data points. So there's a community of individuals that are building their credit, that have built their credit. And every time they apply for a credit card, they put in their results. So if they get denied, they say how much their income was, what's their credit at currently, what state, what card they applied for, and it'll give you a reference. So one of the websites is called helpmebuildcredit.com. And so whenever you're looking at for a specific card, you'll go to that website and you'll look for that card, and you'll see what's the income that most people approved get, what's the credit line, what state, and what credit score. And it'll give you a better idea if you should really pull the trigger on that card or not. And it should significantly improve your approval rates.
Ooh. Hold on. Say that website one more time.
So it's helpmebuildcredit.com.
Helpmebuildcredit.com. All right. Ooh, okay. So this way, so if we're applying the knowledge, we're jumping off the porch. However, we got a group of people holding your hand as you jump off the porch.
Definitely. It's a lot of information on there. You actually can ask individual questions. I do believe they get back to you within like a business day or two. So don't be impatient if you don't get an email response back immediately. Go in there, make an account, look at as many as cards as possible, see where those individuals was credit score wise and report structuring wise, and try to get yourself in that position relatively close to that position before you apply.
Okay, and that's what I want. Well, first, is this service free?
So that service is 100% free.
100% free, and
It's even more powerful.
Always leverage free. And you were saying that you try to get in the best position possible so that you can get approval for the cards that you're trying to apply for. Because I think I don't want nobody to miss that, because you say it's optimal to make sure that you have no blemishes on your credit. It's optimal to have at least 9 cards. However, if you have a shortcoming somewhere, should this stop you from moving forward?
No, it shouldn't stop you from moving forward. You just have to have enough information and enough knowledge to know which cards fall under which category. So really, really quick, we can go over the 4 different tiers. So you have starter cards. The starter cards are for the individuals that have bad to no credit. Then you have intro cards, which are like a little bit higher credit limits. They probably don't have any type of annual fee, but they don't offer any type of rewards or incentives. Then you have the keeper cards, which are the cards that have higher credit limits. You're gonna be in the 5 to 15,000 range for the credit limits. You're going to start seeing some type of annual fee, but those annual fees are offset with sign-up bonuses and things of that nature. You'll start getting cash back in flight mileage for trips and things of that nature. And then you have the tier 1 cards, which are like the superior elite cards, where you're going to have really high limits. You're going to have really high annual fees, anywhere between $200 to maybe $1,000. But those rewards and incentives are significantly offset if you know how to utilize the strategies to get points, get miles, and get cash back. So if you have blemish credit, start really, really low with those entry-level subprime credit card companies, subprime credit cards, and then start building out your profile and start waiting to see different offers from the bigger banks. Start trying to go pre-qualify for cards and see what cards the algorithm is saying you qualify for, and then move on from there.
Okay, before I start landing, can you give me those 4 types of cards again?
Yeah, so you have the subprime cards for the individuals with bad to no credit, right? Then you have the intro cards. Those are like the starter cards. You have a little bit of credit. You're building up a little bit now, and then you have the keeper cards, the cards that you typically won't close, you won't modify, anything like that. And then you have the top status cards, which is like the Amex Gold card, the Sky Miles card, the Discover It card, the Amex Hilton Rewards Honors, and things like that. So those more premium level cards for the people with top tier credit.
I'm getting ready to land a plane. And man, it's good talking to you again, man. Is there anything?
Likewise.
Is there anything I missed you would like to touch on?
No, man. Just be able to understand that what you know is simply what you've done, right? So look around you. Look what type of house you're living in. Look what type of food you're eating. Look what type of car you're driving. That is a product to what you know now. If you're a know-it-all, if you feel like you have everything figured out, but you're not where you're at in life, come back down, humble yourself, get some of this information and make some changes and start changing your life.
There it is. There it is. And if anybody's interested in, I don't know what you're doing. Are you doing a pre-order or are you doing a wait list for your book?
Yeah, so I'm doing a wait list right now. Wait list individuals, they're going to get a list of bonuses. It's going to have a lot of the resources that we talked about today, different PDFs and things like that you'll be able to go back and reference. And then they'll also get a discount specifically to the individuals that get on the wait list. And the website to get the ebook is credit2cashebook.com. So again, credit2cashebook.com, and you'll be able to go on that website and you'll be able to get the book and you'll have an access to a lot of the resources and a lot of information that we talk about today to put yourself in the best position utilizing credit to succeed.
Boom, and there it is. I'll also leave that information in the show notes for you guys to click on. Get on the wait list, get your credit right, use this to build opportunities for yourself. This is the Entrepreneur Kickback with Darniel Barnett. Once again, we are out.
Thanks, man, for having me. Take care.
Next time on the Entrepreneur Kickback.
Now, there's another website called FAIR. You guys write this down, FAIRE.com, FAIR.com. And I learned about FAIR from a couple of the stores out in Asheville, North Carolina. So these independent stores go to FAIR and they find wholesale products at FAIR.